and welcome to Business Weekly. When the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank met in Washington, they were supposed to discuss the darkening economic outlook. But while collecting their registration badges, the participants at the annual gathering in the US Capitol were also given an Ebola fact sheet as the virus infected the fall meeting's economic agenda. But the IMF was also focused on the economy, warning that the eurozone may have a bad year. Samsung is also looking at difficult times. The world's biggest smartphone maker is heading for its first annual earnings fall in the last 3 years. Samsung has been overtaken by local low-cost rivals in Asia. No matter the make of smartphone browsers used, Facebook is eager to conquer India's market. Mark Zuckerberg decided to meet the country's prime minister offline and went to India himself. We start with Ebola and its financial symptoms.
The economic impact of Ebola is making itself felt. News that the virus has spread within Europe to a nurse in Spain caused a further sell-off of airline and travel company shares. Investors are concerned about reduced passenger demand and airlines being hit with additional costs for screening travellers.
The fact that we've had Ebola cases now inside Spain and there seems to be maybe not quite as stringent controls over the handling of this as there might otherwise have been has seen markets maybe being a little bit more spooked than they might otherwise be.
The potential costs for hospitals are huge. Thomas Duncan, the Liberian national who died in Texas, did not have health insurance, and experts calculate his treatment cost as much as the equivalent of €19,000 a day. Civil rights advocate Jesse Jackson, who's advising Duncan's family, says he would probably have had better initial treatment if he'd been insured.
I would tend to think that those who do not have insurance, do not have Medicaid, do not have the same priorities as those who do.
Liberia, where Duncan came from, is one of several West African countries suffering major economic damage because of measures like the suspension of most international flights. The World Bank says the regional impact of the epidemic could reach close to €26 billion by the end of next year if it spreads significantly beyond the worst-hit countries of Guinea, Liberia and Sierra Leone.
Samsung has seen its global market share decline, being outclassed by Apple's iPhones in the premium segment and undercut by Asian rivals at the bottom end. The company hopes its profits will pick up with the launch of cheaper smartphone models, as its latest quarterly results are the weakest in the last 3 years.
Difficult times for Samsung, heading for its first annual earnings decline since 2011. It says profits between July and September will be the lowest in more than 3 years amid uncertain short-term prospects for smartphone sales. However, its shares jumped, reflecting expectations that profits will pick up with the launch of less expensive smartphone models in the months ahead. The problem's been Apple's iPhone taking sales at the top of the range, while cheaper Chinese rivals undercut the South Koreans at the bottom end. The numbers tell the story. In the April to June period, Samsung's market share fell from almost a third last year to just over a quarter this year. Apple was stable, China's Huawei nearly doubled its share, and other Chinese manufacturers enjoyed significant gains. Samsung's particularly vulnerable to the cheaper Chinese handsets, as the mobile business accounted for more than two-thirds of its operating profit last year, which is why it plans to launch more cost-competitive mid- to low-end devices and invest in its microchip business.
100 million active users, out of which 84 million access Facebook from their mobile devices. That's the social network situation in India. Among these 100 million, there is one particular user Mark Zuckerberg went to visit, the country's prime minister.
Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg's visiting India, a country of contrasts for social media. It's Facebook's second biggest market after the US, even though more than 1 billion people there don't use the internet. Zuckerberg's most important meeting is with Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who uses Facebook and Twitter to bypass traditional news media and communicate his thoughts directly to constituents, even utilising a hologram while campaigning. And he's keen to find allies to push his digital India vision. For Facebook, India India represents huge growth potential, as it's not a saturated market like North America and Europe. Right now, India's 100 million active Facebook users bring the company only tiny profits, less than 1/3 of 1% of its revenue. Zuckerberg's meeting with Modi will focus on how Facebook and the Indian government can collaborate on internet.org, which aims to increase affordable web access for people around the world beyond just pushing cheaper smartphones.
In a fairy tale ending, Disney had rescued its subsidiary Euro-Disney. Europe's biggest tourist attraction has been struggling amid the economic downturn in the region, but it seems good does triumph over evil.
Euro-Disney has agreed a €1 billion funding deal supported by its largest shareholder, Walt Disney Co. The plan includes a share sale and debt restructuring to allow the company to pump some cash into the ailing business. Walt Disney Co. owns 40% of the leisure complex, with 10% in the hands of Saudi Prince Al-Walid bin Talal. The tourist attraction has been hit by the financial crisis, and despite being one of the biggest draws in Europe, it has debts of around €1.75 billion. It's an unwelcome reality check for the kingdom of fantasy.
That's it for now. Looking ahead, British inflation is out on Tuesday, with UK jobs numbers on Wednesday, when we also get eBay's quarterly results. On Thursday, eurozone inflation data are released, and on Friday we'll learn the latest on car sales in Europe. Thank you for watching, and see you next week.